Most folks are very familiar with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Whether you watched the cartoons in the late 80s or the live-action movies of the 90s, or whether you played with the action figures, read the comic books, or watched the Michael Bay reboots, over the past 40 years, many of us have made fond memories with the heroes in a half shell. Now, the Turtles are back in a computer-animated feature film that hopes to bring a new generation of Turtle fans into the fold. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I'm Ronald Young Jr., and I'm leaving the theater. All right, this is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Directed by Jeff Rowe, written by Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, Jeff Rowe, Dan Hernandez, and Benji Samit. Starring Micah Abbey, Shamon Brown Jr., Nicolas Cantu, Brady Noon, Hannibal Buress, Rose Byrne, John Cena, Jackie Chan, Ice Cube, Maya Rudolph, and Seth Rogen. And as always, for a complete cast listing, you can go to the link in the show notes. I am not here alone. Making her summer debut, I think it's her summer debut.
Wait, no, because we did, in June, we did The Blackening.
Ah, okay. Coming back again for Summer Seconds, it is, you might know the voice, it is...
Hi, it's me, it's Nick.
Nick is back, a.k.a. Nichole, a.k.a. Nichole Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I've decided not to just let you slide with that mononym nonsense on this show anymore. You are confusing the listeners.
Everybody knows that it's just Nick.
Okay, fine. Nick is here. We just saw Ninja Turtles. Now, before we even get started, let me ask you a question. And again, this is an animated movie as different from the other ones. The other ones, there have been the live action ones. There have been the ones that were animated like Lion King and stuff, you know what I mean? But with real people still, the Michael Bay ones, we'll call those. Yeah, they're the Michael Bay ones. And now we're on to this iteration, which is full animation, akin to Spider-Verse, which will probably come up again. So before we get into all that, let me ask you, what is your relationship with the Ninja Turtles?
Okay, so I'm a 90s kid, so we definitely watched them growing up, definitely sung the theme song all the time. I saw the movie, I don't know which movie it was, but it was, they were like kind of human. There were real humans in it, live action.
Those are the 90s ones.
Okay, yeah, I saw those when I was a kid. I think I was kind of afraid a little bit, so I didn't like them as much, but I loved the cartoon.
Yeah, same here. I grew up with the cartoon. I know the song. You know the song. Heroes in a Half Shell.
Turtle Power.
Yeah, so you guys all know it. We know that I've watched the live action ones. I always like to say that there were 3 movies that were my first movies in the theater. I can't tell you which one is which. If you look at the dates, you could probably see, but unfortunately, they came out in the same time span, the same year. Mm-hmm. So you'd have to look chronologically. But it was The Little Mermaid. It was Dick Tracy, and it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So those 3 movies have a very special place in my heart. And I've always loved the Turtles. I had the toys growing up. My parents got me the blimp, which was exciting because they originally got me a microscope, and the microscope didn't work. And they were like, well, we can get you another microscope, or we can get you this turtle blimp. And I was like, science?
What is a blimp? What's a turtle blimp?
So in the cartoons, they had a turtle blimp. And they made a toy replica of it, and it was huge. It was enormous. It was great. I loved it. They had the turtle van as well. They had so many turtle things. Honestly, for me, the Ninja Turtles. Marilyn got Barbies. I got Ninja Turtles. You know what I mean? And we used to play with each other. All that stuff. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, so that was my relationship. And I walked into this movie with the expectation that it would be cute. It would be all right. You know. So with that being said, we've seen it now. What did you think of it?
I was not even expecting cute or all right. I was like, all right, whatever. Ronald's excited. I'll go to this thing. It is very well done.
Yeah.
I think that what kept striking me is the POV stays distinctly Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Like,
yes.
you just the animation is beautiful. And also just everything that is happening from the perspective of a teenage mutant ninja turtle.
Yeah.
And the world feels like how they would see it.
Yes.
They act like little boys.
Yes.
It's just so sweet.
Yeah.
And they did such a good job of just maintaining that focus and not trying to go, not trying to do a bunch of other things for the adults in the audience. It's for kids.
It is for kids, but I think, like, I can tell that the makers of this movie also grew up with the Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
because sitting in this movie, it's like, I mean, I don't think we would never dismiss, and I'm not saying what you said was dismissive, but I'm saying we would never dismiss any of the Spider-Verses as being like, well, that's a kid's movie, even though I have friends that see animation and immediately like, well, that's for kids. And seeing this one, I immediately recognized what they were doing as soon as the turtles came on screen, because they did one thing where they did this posed scene where they're standing on the roofs with no pupils in their eyes, and then all of a sudden they start making jokes and the pupils are in their eyes and you see how they're relating to one another, and I was like, oh, they're teenagers. They're doing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's like when I say for kids, I mean literally like not even like just for little kids. I mean it's like this is made for your inner child. It's made for the kid in all of us. Like it is specifically directly for the kid in you. I felt like a little girl, you know, watching.
Yeah. I agree. I felt the same. I think once I saw how they were relating to each other, they made some different choices about Splinter. They made some different choices about their origin story. Splinter is played by Jackie Chan, which I was like, that this is a very good choice for Splinter. But I think the direction that they went in, especially the way they relate to each other, the way that April O'Neil shows up, what April O'Neil looks like. April O'Neil is black and plus sized, which I'm like, yes. And she's actually a teenager, which also makes sense. There's just a lot of things they did that just made sense. When I'm watching that, somebody grew up with it, it just feels like a lot of those decisions clicked for me.
Yeah, I agree. It was April being a teenager was fantastic, and being like and being plus size and being like having her own little arc that she needs to go through as well. That was brilliantly done. It's such good writing, great dialogue. Fantastic characters with excellent chemistry, in large part, I think, because they stay so loyal to this idea of like, this is for, you need to get yourself into the mindset of a child. Go back there and then enjoy this.
I agree. I think watching it, I remember thinking I would definitely watch this again. It made me think of what our friend Chioke said about after watching the second Spider-Verse. He just mentioned, he's like, what they were able to do with this movie in terms of superheroes kind of does not bode well for the MCU. And I would agree. I was sitting there watching this one, and now I'm to the point where I'm like, well, the MCU is putting a lot of money into live action films over and over and over again. And I'm sitting here watching a turtle film, and they're putting enough emotion into it that it's not overly emotional, but enough so that I can feel, so that the characters are motivated. They're seasoning it well, and they don't have to worry about a lot of things that the MCU has to worry about when it comes to making a live action movie. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know, with Marvel, because they put out so much, the quality inevitably started to dip. And so other people can come in like this movie and be like, okay, what are the best parts of that? We love a buddy comedy. We love for our heroes to be flawed and to not know what they're doing. We like to watch them bumble around and crosstalk and do all that. But we need to have some type of like depth and interiority. There needs to be an arc. It doesn't have to make you cry, but it needs to be there. And whereas Marvel has strayed away from that and focused a lot on like spectacle and stunt casting and kind of like the promise of more to come, but it's been a promise for so long that I don't know if I believe it's coming. They're able to just come in and be like, I know that there's a kid in there. I know you have a child inside, and I know what it would like, and I'm going to give it exactly that.
It's funny because while you were talking, what I realized is that the MCU is now in the place that the DC universe was about 7-8 years ago, which is weird because it's like, how did y'all end up doing this to yourself? And it does leave room for movies like this to come in and not to have a low bar in front of them.
Yes.
You know, we just have to enjoy it. Yep. But for me to walk in and see the Turtles have a story, they have feelings, they immediately give them a desire to walk in. We want to be accepted by humanity.
Yeah.
To like do that walking in the door is wild.
Yeah, it's good. They had like a clear goal that's universally relatable, wanting to be accepted at any age. You get that.
Yeah.
And then thinking that if you do something heroic, just like their mindset of if we do something heroic, people will like us. That is so relatable on every level. And then the way that they go about they're having so much fun trying to be heroes, which I think all of us can relate to too, of like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to donate, I'm going to post about it, I'm going to do whatever. Like, you get the feeling of trying to show off too much to be a hero and then making yourself look foolish and then needing to find acceptance some other way.
Yeah, making that choice, I think, was fantastic in terms of giving us the character development and an arc.
Yeah.
All of that being said, I did feel like by the time that the third act comes, okay, yeah. So so I remember I was like, the one thing that this movie does share in common with the MCU is that it does have some third act problems. Yeah. There's a point where it gets there, and I'm just like, I don't know if I really needed all of this, but I understand why you did it, and maybe we could have gotten there a little quicker. I don't know if we needed to be in there, and I won't even check the runtime. It wasn't so long that I was checking my watch, but it was long enough that I was like, all right, let's resolve this. Let's go ahead.
I was like, let's wrap this up. All right, okay, we get it, we know.
Yeah.
It was too drawn out.
Yeah.
And
so with that being said, I think that's why I'm thinking about what my rating is for this. It's with third act problems. I think it's going to be stronger than some of the other stuff that I've liked, but like weaker than I think it could have been in most cases. But with all of that being said, what do you rate this movie?
I would give it, I said at one point I don't do points, and then I always do points. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think it's a solid film, and we haven't really talked about it, but the animation is stunning. I loved it. It was perfect.
This new style of animation that they're doing, and I think, again, I really think that Spider-Man is leading the way, but a lot of this animation that they're doing works. It's just like drawn lines, and they're beautiful, makes you want to look at it, while also being 3D animated. Like, it's just, it works well. I think 3.5 is a good score. I'm going to go a little higher, 3.75, mostly because at some points I was sitting there being like, I think this might be a 4-star movie, and then it crept into that third act, and I was like, nah, you were almost there. Yeah. So I'm like, 3.75 is about where I'm at. So I'm like, I don't know. Would you watch a sequel?
Yeah, I actually would. Yes, and I think I might watch it in theaters. Yeah.
I would too.
I'm excited for the sequel.
Yeah, I would too. It probably won't be out for 3 years, likely, because there's a strike. I'm trying to mention that there's a strike every episode now, just as posterity. There's a strike going on right now.
Yeah. We are in the summer of 2023. There is a strike. Everything's shut down.
Yeah, just wanted to remind people if you're, depending on when you're listening to this. But with that, Leaving the Theater is a production of OhitsBigRon Studios. Alexandra Ketch of Bias Studios mixes the show. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Show art from Heather Wilder. Theme music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. For more information about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, or Nichole Hill, check out our show notes. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at OhitsBigRon. That's at OhitsBigRon. You can find out more about this show and other OhitsBigRon Studios shows by following us on Instagram at OhitsBigRon Studios and on Twitter at OhitsBigRonStew. That's STEW. Leaving the Theater will be back soon. Thanks for listening. And thanks for being on the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. So fun.
I was supposed to go to pool with friends later, but I'm about to tell them we're moving that up because I think it's going to thunderstorm later. Is it? And I'm like, I refuse to be, I haven't been out in this heat all day. I've been out since 8:30.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, I deserve
to be in a pool.
Yeah.
Right now.
I deserve. Check, Big Ron. You already know what it is. Check Ron. Ronnie. Ron. All right. All of this is for your amusement. All right. This is Ronald. All right. This is Ronald, and I am leaving the theater after seeing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Teenage Mutant